Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mission Employable podcast. My name is Ben Oldak. My voice is back, Kathy.
Yay!
I had struggled mightily with allergies over the time that we were out in Sioux City, and It was brutal. So very happy that my voice isn't as strained as it was back then.
Yes, me too.
So that's a good thing. The second good thing that we have today for you is our story today. Our podcast episode is all about Goldfinch Laboratory. It's part of the healthcare industry, and the people there have built this really unique training program, like from the ground up.
Yes.
And it's something that's really interesting because it gives other industries, I think, a way to potentially replicate what they've done and use their knowledge to help them grow their workforce. So with us today is Stephanie Allen. She's the Director of Laboratory Operations, and Nancy Leiva. She's the shift lead at Goldfinch Laboratory. So welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
We're so excited.
Yeah,
I'm super
pumped.
excited.
She set this one up, and,
yes, I am.
She's really, really excited about this one. But yeah, first of all, just kind of tell me a little bit about yourselves and as well as the laboratory and what you folks do there.
Can I go first? So I'm Nancy, and I've been at the lab for about a year. And for the past year, I've had pretty great opportunities to grow my education with histology and pretty much oversee the workflow that we do for first shift and kind of get things going. And sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, what you do. Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, yourself. Yeah.
Oh, I am 25, and I went to the University of Iowa, and I got a bachelor's in human physiology and kind of was looking for what to do with it, and landed at Goldfinch. And I think it's a pretty great way to increase my education and get a use of what I have done already.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm Stephanie. I have been a histotech for 16 years. I started a 2-year certificate program when I was in high school, and after I became certified, I've worked in a variety of different clinical and research laboratories. I have a lot of experience kind of starting up labs from, construction process and creating efficient workflows and ensuring regulatory compliance. I started at Goldfinch Laboratory in March of 2024, and there I just oversee the onboarding of new employees, equipment, new testing, and clients while making sure that we can continue to grow.
Awesome.
And tell us a little bit about what the lab does there for people that might not know.
Yeah, and you mentioned histotech technology, so tell us a little bit about that too, because it's a term that I don't think a lot of people are familiar with, and this is a great opportunity. I want to get the word out about these great career fields.
Yeah, so histology is the study of tissue, and there's a lot that goes into creating a microscope slide from a tissue biopsy.
When people ask, I'm not going to lie, when I got into histology, I didn't really know what histology was or what it did, but the easiest way I can describe it to people is when you go to the doctors and they remove something, obviously they want to look in there and see what's going on. So when the doctor says we're going to send it to the lab to do some testing, we're the lab that does the testing. And we used to really focus on dermatology, but we have grown so much in the past year or 2 years to expand to GIs and breasts and prostates, and from there we're able to receive a lot more specimen and kind of get a diagnosis from all of that. So when your doctor says we're going to send this to the lab to do some tests, we're the lab.
This is like what happens, and I think we've all either experienced that or we know somebody who has, and so to just put some information behind that is really cool, because I think it's like I would have never thought. When I hear that, that's what happens. It's a lot, and it's a really important process because these are for people. These are life and death, situations at times. So so awesome.
So tell us a little bit about the Earn and Learn program that you guys have built. Kind of the reason that we brought you here.
We when I started in March, and really every lab I've worked in, there's been a shortage for histotechs. And I've worked in labs in Michigan and Colorado and now in Iowa, and it's been the same in every location. We've really struggled to find trained techs that can come in and just get to work. So most labs will rely on traveling histotechs and contracted work, whereas here in some positions that I've had have been able to kind of train people on the job. And so instead of going the route of like contracted techs where you're constantly seeing like turnover and you're re-entering a training phase every 3 to 6 months, we thought it would be better to kind of just start a training program, and that way we can look for the characteristics that we want in an employee and provide them a path of growth, while also, showing them what histology is and getting them excited about that, so that they stay with us long term.
And have you, Nancy, you're a participant in this, correct?
Most definitely, yes.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that.
About a year ago, Stephanie actually reached out to me, seeing that I had a little bit of histology experience, and it was very minor, but I was really interested, and I really wanted to go for it and kind of have the opportunity to grow was what really grabbed my attention, because I don't have the luxury to just stop working and just go back to school. So when she said you can get educated while working and learning the job, I thought that was an incredible opportunity. So just being able to go back into it, I feel that learning the job as you do it is very important, because the basis that you can learn from the certificate that you're wanting to reach at the end of the goal is really just the basis, because you're doing what you're wanting to do with that certificate day to day, and being able to adapt and see the real life problems that come and learn from there that book isn't going to be able to tell you how to handle specifically to your lab. So just being able to be on the job, get paid, and then also increase your education, I think is a great opportunity.
It is a great opportunity. And just to, I think you guys shared, it's the specific histotech training is about a year. Is that what you're finding with participants?
I think that overall the training probably takes a little longer than a year, but at the 1 year mark they have, the skills to be able to independently do these tasks, but, they'll still be kind of fine-tuning those techniques and things like that. But ASCP, the certifying agency, they require 1 year of full-time training before you can sit for your exam.
Okay.
And so our histotech and training program is at least 1 year in that position, and then at that 1 year mark we are hoping and kind of encouraging people to sit for that exam, even though they would still have more learning to do after the
Absolutely. Yeah, always. Yes. Yeah. I think and the one of the other things that I loved, many things about this program, but I do think that this model is applicable to other healthcare technology positions, which again we have a shortage, high demand. When you talked about and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like when I was able to visit with you, you guys shared that there is no histotech training program in Iowa.
No.
So it's really meeting a need, and I think, as Ben said at the beginning, it's a great model that we'd love to encourage others to do, because I think it ends up in a win-win.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and I was going to say, people in the healthcare industry, and even folks that aren't in the healthcare industry, probably have that same, or can have some of that same feeling where it's like we can't find enough people. The people that we do find, they might stay, they might leave. That we have this turnover, and it's causing stress on the workforce. This program, what have the results been for you guys?
So far, Nancy's the only one that's kind of made it to that 1 year mark, because the program was really only started about a year ago.
Yeah.
And so right now we have people in the various stages of the training, and it's going really well. Everyone is doing really good, learning the different tasks that they've been, given along this. I don't know, some of them are 3 months in, some of them are 6 months in, things like that. But the results, in my opinion, have been great, and it seems that, morale is better than having, the constant turnover. We haven't really had any turnover at all. And as far as like the culture goes, I try to be pretty intentional with the hiring, so that we're hiring people that are excited about this program and being able to learn on the job, and also like very adaptable to change, because every day something's changing, and with that I think we've done a really good job.
And it's also been a money saver, because you've been able to well, why don't you just kind of explain how this is helping your return on investment?
So I would say with us not having to have the contracted employees, and be able to kind of train people to do things with like the best practices in mind. That kind of eliminates a lot of errors that you would see, you know, when people either don't have the training or have been trained with bad habits. And so as far as return on investment, I think we have definitely saved like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I think we'll just continue to see that sort of return.
And
Yeah.
Can I chime in on that?
Please, yes.
Being the shift lead on first shift, I feel like having people who stay and want to grow with us, it's really good because you kind of do build this family and trust and communication, and you're saving a lot of time. If you're training someone every 3 months, it gets really difficult to continue to grow. But when you have people who are really committed and really wanting to work and just really feeling comfortable with the environment that they're around, you go there every day, like 5 out of the 7 days a week you're there, so you start to feel comfortable, and you feel comfortable asking these questions, you feel comfortable growing or learning or asking questions. Hey, can I watch you do this so I can do it efficiently, or what did I do, how can I improve? And it just kind of helps save time and help everyone just grow in their own sense to make sure that we have a very efficient and high quality workflow.
That's awesome.
And when you train people the way you want to be trained, or when you want them to be trained, the results kind of speak for themselves. I mean, you've already made it to shift lead.
Yeah.
You know, like right after getting through that program, and so like I want to remind other employers that are out there maybe listening to this that when you install one of these programs and you train people the way that you want them to be trained and give them those habits, they can climb that ladder, quickly.
Yeah.
And they're more likely to stay, and they feel like you are spending time on them and you want to grow with them. These people believe in me, and I want to continue working here. They have so much faith in me, and it just kind of goes back and forth in the giving and taking of this opportunity.
That speaks so well to, as you said, to culture, but also to morale, because I mean, when we do needs assessments with employers and we have oftentimes culture and morale, those are challenges for employers, trying to manage that. And it sounds like this has been a win-win for that as well, because you've created that culture and recruited those folks and made an investment in them. And you, as one of the people who have gone through that program, is clearly saying, you know what, this works. This is working really well.
It most definitely does. I feel really good going to work at Goldfinch, and I feel very comfortable going to Stephanie with any questions or asking for any improvements or any tips, and just moving jobs to jobs every 3 months or having new people come in. It's kind of hard just to build that trust, but when you're there for a while and you see people investing in you, you want to be able to grow.
Stephanie, do you have any advice for other employers out there that might be thinking about starting a training program like this, but maybe might be like intimidated to start it up? Anything that you've kind of like learned through the process?
Yeah, I think having just the basis of each task that you want to train and having that outlined, but kind of just starting the training, but then asking for feedback. So every time we hire someone and begin this training program, at their 90-day mark, I do sit down with them and ask for feedback on how, one, the role was meeting their expectations and how the training met their expectations. And I try to take any feedback I get and kind of incorporate that into the next person that we bring on. And I think that's really important, kind of being open to feedback and open to adjusting the approach, but then also patience, having patience patience and understanding that it's probably going to take a while for them to fully learn that task. Being in the field for 16 years, it is something that is like second nature to me to do these tasks. And so working with people over the last year and in the past, it's been great to kind of remind myself, one, how to explain something in a way that people are going to understand, and just like reinforcing that whole we need to have patience while people are learning this task, and give them grace for mistakes that are made and things like that.
I think that is great advice, and so true, because as we work with employers to establish, some type of work-based learning, as we would term it, program where you can earn and learn and that type of thing, it does take time. You don't just put something in place and next week it's all set up and working great, but the time and the patience is worth it because the return on investment in so many things you're seeing. So that's great advice.
I want to just highlight the career a little bit for people that might have never heard of this, or maybe this is the first time they're hearing about it. It sounds like it can be a stressful job, obviously, working with samples and biopsies of tissue where folks might be dealing with a disease or something like that. But it sounds like you were talking about how there's also a balance there, and that like there's time for fun and things like that in your field.
Yeah, definitely. I think things can get stressful, or it can get kind of like monotonous day to day, So we do try to either have fun little competitions throughout the year, or we just celebrated Lab Week, and ASCP, which is the certifying agency, and they kind of oversee clinical pathology. They come up with a theme every year, and this year it was Scooby-Doo. So we had a Scooby-Doo themed week where we got to dress up in different costumes.
That's fun.
We had different games and activities that kind of matched the theme of the day. And so we did like a scavenger hunt, like a safety scavenger hunt, and we did like guess what's in the sharps container type thing. And so, yeah, I had a lot of fun that week, and yeah, do you want to talk about the fun stuff we do?
Yeah, during Lab Week, I think one of my favorite things that we did, and we do quite frequently, is kind of food cook-offs or bake-offs, so potlucks, and just kind of seeing everyone bring and participate and voting on these foods. Everything is always incredible, but just having a big group that wants to participate, because friendly competition is always really good. And you come into work and you see all of these things, you see everyone wanting to participate and share, you just feel really like a very family kind of vibe, and it's really nice.
Yeah, and then one other fun thing that we do pretty much every day is one of our teammates, they suggested a question of the day during the huddle, and so we always end our huddles with like a fun get-to-know-you question, and I think it really helps to create that team environment where you get to know people without, having to sit and have like awkward small talk and things like that.
Yeah.
How's the work-life balance?
Yeah, because you're 24 hours, right?
Almost.
Yeah, okay.
You're almost 24 hours, but in my opinion, I think the work-life balance is pretty good. I do try to keep a very close eye on how like stressed or overworked people might seem, and kind of adjust accordingly, either redistributing the tasks, trying to find a more efficient way to complete that task, or if it's justified, even proposing a new hire if that's needed. But
yeah, and this isn't necessarily a job that you can take home. There's not really much you're not taking any of the specimen home, you're not having any of those machines over there. So when you're at work, you're full work mode, and then when you're at home, you're pretty much living your house life. And I think it's really nice, and we have the nice 5 days a week, and if it ever comes to it, to be over the weekend, but it really is just a nice balance of being able to leave work and come back the next day, and knowing that you have that team later that's going to take care of it, and you don't really have to worry about it.
Yeah, and being 24 hours, you get to pick your own shifts, or for the most part, I assume, get to kind of choose what schedule works for you.
Yeah, I guess we have shifts, and we do have we need to have those shifts filled at certain times.
Sure.
So if a shift opens up that somebody is interested in, they could definitely move into that. But it's somewhat flexible in that sense.
And the point that you just shared, Nancy, about how you don't take that home typically, right? Because it's a different type of work that you've got to do it there. You're focused on it, and then you get to go home and in some ways have that brain break from it. That kind of leads to what is a typical and lab person, who is attracted to this type of work? Is there a typical type, if there are people listening and go, oh, this is interesting, I wonder if I would be a fit. What do you think? Anybody? People who, I'm curious, yeah.
It's very It's people who like to ask questions, usually. How does this work? Why does this happen? Or how can we do it a different way? Or why is the process this way? It's usually people who like to ask questions and are very interested in the function of things. When you see this specimen or piece of skin or whatever it may be, it turns into this tiny, 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 thin, like, what would you call it, paraffin that you put it on top of microscope slide. Like, how did we get here from here? And just watching it is very fascinating, and I feel a lot of people who are attracted to this kind of work are people who ask questions and are really interested in the nitty-gritty of how this works.
And it was almost like art to me.
It is
Like
very
when
artistic.
which is a different, but kind of a creative art. It was again just fascinating.
Yeah, it is really awesome to see, like how the different stains interact with the tissue and the colors that you get. It definitely can be very artistic, and I would say like people who have like a high attention to detail and have that creativity and I would say like overall like positivity. I think that goes a long way in a laboratory where you're in the same room with the same people every day. I think having like positivity is something that would go a really, really long way in the lab.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So this is, I just appreciate this because again, we have so many great careers, occupations, employers in the state of Iowa that so many people don't know about. And so this is a really great one to learn about, and definitely high demand in the histo area like you talked, but I think also high demand. I've talked with other employers in the labs in general, and really important needed work. So that's been great to hear more about it.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any other questions? Or
I just want to say I love this program.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us about the career and also about this workforce program that has really helped you kind of get over some of the problems that you were experiencing before. And I think it's really cool to be able to show that for you guys and to show that for other folks in the state. So thanks again for swinging by.
Okay, and I'm not done yet.
Okay.
That's usual. I'm gonna and just also encourage employers to think, kind of the way you guys have, kind of maybe what's a little bit outside the box, but how can you do this and get all of these wins in what you're doing? And you gave us some great tips, both of you, and employers, if you're interested in an earn and learn model, contact us because we know people who do it well, and we're happy to help in any way we can at Iowa Workforce Development.
Yep, workforce.iowa.gov. Give us a shout.